How does a nation begin? Is it born from a single moment, or does it slowly take shape through countless hopes and hardships? America's story is one of ambition, struggle, and a powerful idea, a vision that drew people across oceans and into the unknown. Long before it was a country, America was a destination, a place whispered about in distant lands, promising new beginnings. In the 1600s and 1700s, waves of Europeans arrived, seeking religious freedom, economic opportunity, or simply a second chance at life. They faced harsh winters, disease, and the daunting task of building new lives in a vast wilderness. Every day was a test of endurance and hope. Over time, the colonies developed unique identities. The North with bustling towns, thriving trade, and a spirit of innovation. The South with sprawling plantations built on enslaved labor, a dark legacy that would haunt the nation for generations. Despite their differences, colonists grew apart from Britain, developing their own customs, communities, and systems of self-government. British taxes and laws imposed without colonial representation sparked outrage and a growing sense of injustice. No taxation without representation became the rallying cry, echoing through streets and meeting halls. This wasn't just about money. It was about the right to govern themselves, to shape their own destinies. The seeds of revolution were sown, fueled by a fierce desire for liberty and a belief in something greater than themselves. The journey toward independence had begun, uniting people from different backgrounds in a common cause. The American experiment was about to take shape, a bold attempt to build a nation founded on dreams, ideals, and the promise of freedom. Tensions between the American colonies and the British Crown had been simmering for years, fueled by taxes, restrictions, and a growing desire for self-rule. Eventually, these tensions erupted into the American Revolution, a fight for independence against the world's mightiest empire, the British, whose armies and resources seemed insurmountable. The war began in 1775 at Lexington and Concord, where the first shots of the Revolution rang out at dawn, forever changing the course of history. Colonists, led by George Washington, formed a ragtag army fighting for freedom. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, their determination and unity grew with every battle. The Declaration of Independence, adopted July 4, 1776, boldly proclaimed a new nation. Its words inspired not only Americans but people around the world yearning for liberty. The war was brutal, marked by harsh winters and devastating losses, but key victories like Saratoga and crucial French support turned the tide in favor of the revolutionaries. In 1781, after years of struggle and sacrifice, the British surrendered at Yorktown, signaling the end of major fighting. The impossible had happened. America was born. The colonies had achieved what many thought unthinkable: independence. But building a nation proved even harder. The new country faced economic hardship, political uncertainty, and deep divisions among the states. The first government, under the Articles of Confederation, was too weak to unite the states or solve the nation's problems. In 1787, leaders met in Philadelphia and drafted the U.S. Constitution, a new blueprint for government that balanced power and protected liberty. It created a federal system with checks and balances, dividing power among three branches to prevent tyranny and ensure justice. The Bill of Rights soon followed, guaranteeing fundamental freedoms like speech, religion, and assembly, rights that would define the American spirit. The Constitution became the supreme law, establishing a republic governed by its people, where leaders would be chosen by the citizens themselves. The American experiment had a foundation, one built on hope, debate, and the promise of a better future. The challenge now, to live up to its ideals and ensure that freedom and justice endure for generations to come. As the 19th century unfolded, America grew rapidly, stretching its borders westward and welcoming new states into the Union. But beneath this expansion, slavery cast a long dark shadow over the nation's promise of liberty. In the North, states abolished slavery and built bustling cities powered by industry and innovation, attracting immigrants and new ideas. Meanwhile, the South's economy depended almost entirely on enslaved labor, with vast plantations growing cotton and tobacco for global markets. Political compromises like the Missouri Compromise and the Compromise of 1850 tried to manage the growing divide, but each new state reignited fierce debates. Abolitionists in the North, inspired by leaders like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Beecher Stowe, demanded an end to slavery everywhere. Southern leaders, however, fiercely defended slavery as their way of life and essential to their prosperity, refusing to compromise. The election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, seen as a threat to slavery, became the breaking point. Southern states seceded, forming the Confederacy. In 1861, the Civil War erupted, pitting brother against brother in the deadliest conflict in American history, with the nation's future at stake. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 transformed the war, making the fight to end slavery a central, moral cause for the Union. After 4 years of brutal, devastating fighting, the Union prevailed. The Confederacy surrendered in 1865, and the war was finally over. Slavery was abolished, but the cost was immense. Cities lay in ruins, families were shattered, and the nation was left deeply scarred. The Union was preserved, and for the first time, African Americans could vote and participate in democracy. But the struggle for true equality was far from over. America now faced the immense task of rebuilding, healing wounds, and redefining freedom for all its citizens during the challenging Reconstruction era. The promise of freedom would be tested again and again, as new barriers and injustices arose in the years that followed. The nation's soul was forever changed, and the legacy of a house once divided would echo through generations to come. After the Civil War, America looked west. Manifest Destiny fueled expansion, with settlers, cowboys, and railroads pushing into new territories. Native Americans were forced from their lands, their cultures devastated by conflict and removal. Meanwhile, the Industrial Revolution transformed the nation. Inventions like the telephone and electric light changed daily life. Railroads connected the continent. Cities boomed, powered by factories and a flood of immigrants seeking opportunity. The Gilded Age brought immense wealth for a few, but harsh conditions for many workers. Immigrants crowded into cities, fueling growth but facing prejudice and hardship. America's diversity grew, as did the gap between rich and poor. The nation was becoming an industrial powerhouse and a land of stark contrasts. The American dream was being redefined. The 20th century thrust America onto the world stage. World War I ended U.S. isolation. American troops helped secure Allied victory. The Roaring Twenties brought prosperity and cultural change, jazz, women's suffrage, and booming cities. But the 1929 stock market crash triggered the Great Depression. Unemployment soared and hope faded. Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal launched ambitious programs to revive the economy and provide relief. Social security and public works projects offered a safety net and jobs. The federal government's role expanded dramatically. The economy only fully recovered with World War II, but the New Deal restored hope. America emerged from crisis with new resolve. The nation had weathered hardship and was ready to face the world again. The American spirit endured. A new era was dawning. World War II transformed America into a superpower. The attack on Pearl Harbor united the nation. Factories became arsenals, and women joined the workforce in record numbers. Victory in 1945 brought peace and a new rivalry with the Soviet Union. The Cold War began, democracy versus communism, a global contest fought with arms, influence, and ideas. America raced to build nuclear weapons and reach the moon, shaping foreign policy and daily life. At home, the civil rights movement challenged segregation and injustice. Leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led nonviolent protests demanding equality. Landmark laws like the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act outlawed segregation and protected voting rights. The struggle for justice reshaped the nation. America was changing, at home and abroad. The fight for freedom was not just overseas, but in its own streets. The Cold War and civil rights defined a generation. The nation's identity was being rewritten. As the Cold War faded, a new revolution began, the digital age. Visionaries in Silicon Valley dreamed of personal computers for everyone. The rise of the internet in the 1990s connected the world in ways never imagined. Companies like Amazon and Google transformed commerce and information. Social media changed how people connect, share, and organize. The economy shifted from manufacturing to information and services. Technology brought opportunity and innovation, but also new challenges. Automation threatened jobs, the digital divide left some behind. The very nature of community and identity was changing. America, once defined by its physical frontier, now navigated a digital one. The 21st century began with crisis. The 9/11 attacks shocked the nation, leading to wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and sweeping changes at home. Security tightened, debates over civil liberties intensified. The 2008 financial crisis brought recession and hardship for millions. Government bailouts and stimulus packages aimed to revive the economy, but recovery was slow. Political and social divisions deepened, amplified by social media. Protests over racial injustice and debates on immigration, healthcare, and gun control revealed persistent inequalities. America struggled to find common ground. The nation's ideals were tested as never before. The search for unity continued. Today, America stands at a crossroads. Its journey from scattered colonies to superpower is marked by triumphs and failures, change and reinvention. The nation's core ideals, liberty, democracy, opportunity, still inspire, but are constantly challenged. America's global role is evolving in a world of rising powers and new threats. At home, diversity is a source of strength and tension. Political divisions run deep. Questions of justice, equality, and democracy dominate the national conversation. The story of America is unfinished, a narrative of resilience, struggle, and hope. From revolution to civil rights, the nation has faced its contradictions and strived for a more perfect union. The future is uncertain, but the American journey continues. Its ideals endure, shaped by the relentless spirit of its people. The next chapter is still being written.